Adam, Rockstar.
I'm
We're
here.
probably not going to do any karaoke today, everybody.
Damn it.
Paul, Joyce, welcome everybody. We're going to get started here in just a couple minutes. Always like to give people a little bit of time to jump on. Welcome everybody for joining us on a Saturday morning. We do have one more Saturday morning, and then I'm going to probably switch this format to Fridays. I've had a lot of people ask me for weekdays instead of weekends, and I didn't really think about it until I did one during the week, and I was like, it's pretty nice to do these during the week and not do this on a weekend. So Tom Berry could not do it on a weekend. I mean, on the weekday. So he is slated for our next call. He's actually one of my favorite speakers I get to hear lately. If you haven't heard Tom Berry, he's a treat. So our next call is going to be November 12th. I will announce that one more time here. But our next call will be November 12th, 10 a.m. Central Time with Tom Berry, talking about where we're at in the real estate cycle, but also what you guys can be looking out for. Probably just give it another minute or so for more people to jump on, and then I'll probably get going. Jennifer Steward is with us today. Welcome, Jennifer. Thanks for being on.
Thank you for having
Appreciate
me,
you taking your time.
Brandon.
Appreciate Jennifer taking some time today to teach us. She's been mentoring my team for the last couple months and trying to help them with negotiations. And I can tell you, we need a lot of help. She's really good at it. And I appreciate her for being willing to jump on today. Well, we're going to get started where we are right now. I got a funny story to kind of kick off as we get started this morning. So last night, in the middle of the night, most of you guys know my wife, Becky. But if you don't, we've been married for 25 years in December. It'll be 25 years. But last night, in the middle of the night, she wakes up like in the dark of the night. It had to have been 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And she grabs me and she's like, "Are you okay, Tom?" I'm like, "Well, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? Am I okay?" She's like, "It smells like dog food or cat food." And I'm like, "What, you think it's me? You think I smell like dog food or cat food?" And I'm just like, what in the world is going? I mean, I literally thought, okay, maybe she's having some kind of weird dream. Maybe she is, I don't know, women in their mid years, they can be a little crazy, let me tell you. And my wife's amazing, don't get me wrong, but she's also a little crazy right now, a little cray. But so she asked me, she's like, I don't know, something just smells weird. And then she kind of lays back down, settles herself down for a little bit, and she says, "Oh, I started the pot roast last night." And I was like, now that you mentioned it, I can kind of smell the pot roast cooking. So don't worry, don't fear. Everything was just fine and everything was all right. She did run down to make sure that she didn't need to add more water to the pot roast, and it was just fine. Everything was good to go. But I thought that was a funny story to kind of share on a Saturday morning. Also, if you guys follow me on Facebook, I've already sold 250 candy bars for my son Zach. He's trying to sell 6 cases over this weekend. He's trying to sell 20 cases to go on a trip to Washington, D.C. with his school. If you guys are interested in that, most of you guys know my phone number or email. You guys can get with me. I'd love to send you some candy. I know one guy, Bob Zachmeyer, actually said, "Hey, I want to buy 100 candy bars, but I want Zach to go pass them out at a nursing home." So that was kind of cool as well. But we got that going on. We just ended the real estate free-for-all event here in our office. We had a great time. If you missed that, I do want to let everybody know we do have the videos available. So if Amelia, if you want to, can you make sure that you post a link to those videos? And they're already ready to go as well. They've all been edited. My team's already made that happen. Jennifer was actually one of our speakers. She did a great job at the free-for-all event. And then I also want to let everybody know about the next year's event. So next year's event will be September 7th through 9. I've already got 5 sponsors that have already signed up and said that I'll be on the hook for that. We have a great event. I will give you guys a hint. We were basically told overwhelmingly to charge for the event next year. So this will be a little bit different. And the sooner you sign up, I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to be to your benefit. Let's just say it that way. So the sooner you sign up for that, the more benefit it will be to you as well. I did promise a couple people that if they popped on here, we would let them talk about the cruise. So anybody from the Investor Addicts cruise, are you guys on here? I think I see Peggy. Is Tanya on or Tom on? Anybody else? Or Peggy, you want to take the floor? You can't be driving and do this. Well, for now, let's just do this. Amelia, can you just put, I think it's investораddicts.com. Is that correct? Or Investor Addicts Cruise. I do want to let people know about the cruise they have coming up. I met a lot of people over the years, a lot of my lenders, a lot of my investors on these cruises. It used to be the IRA Fund Cruise back when Quincy, was actually putting them on himself. I can still remember the day Quincy shaved his head when we raised so much money on one of those cruises, and it was a good time. But anyways, I just wanted to mention that it's in February. And if you guys get those links, if Tom or Tanya or Peggy are on and want to put those links up here. I know they've only got so many people that can go, and it's a great time. Yes, there's a conference going on, but what better place to be able to meet with friends and just hang out for a week than on a cruise. And I will say, for you people out there, Tanya's texting me now, that are worried about the vaccination. There is no vaccination available right now. It looks like she's on Google Meet, which is not a good thing here, I don't think. So just FYI, I'm able to phone in our Google Meet. It's me or anyone else. So anyways, I just want to mention on that the Investor Addicts Cruise, and we're gonna have a great time. And like I said, Tom Nardone's helping put this on, as well as Peggy and Tanya. So that'll be great. So all right. That's all I got to say. So Jennifer's going to take the floor and teach us a little bit about data and talk about marketing. And then also the market's a little different now. The market's changed a lot in the last 6 months. And I think she's got some good nuggets to be able to pass on to us today. So Jennifer, take it away.
Awesome. Well, I just want to say I see a lot of faces, people I met at the Free For All event last week. It's so great to see many of you again. Brandon Rooks, Mr. Rockstar, Peggy, Fred. It was great to see you last week. And of course, it's always great to see Joyce and a few others. So I just want to say, Junior, thank you for having me here, Tom. And I'm happy to share kind of what I'm learning in the trenches every day and how things have changed. A lot has changed in the last year, guys. And feel free to make this interactive. I've seen the format interactive here before. So as long as Tom's okay with it, guys, if you want to unmute and ask me questions about what you're seeing, and I can give feedback on what's working for us. Tom, would it be appropriate to give maybe an intro on what I do so that there's some
Absolutely,
context
please.
on the questions that people can ask about?
I was thinking maybe we should show some videos about the karaoke we had at Real Estate Free For All. Just kidding. I had no idea that Tom Barry could sing, but he was actually pretty good.
He kind of reminded me of Willie Nelson a little bit.
Yeah.
In his voice.
We had a really great time. So yeah, go ahead. However you want to run this is totally cool with me, Jennifer. It's your show.
Okay, great. So guys, I do a lot of different things to make sure that I can reach sellers. So I do sell data. I am wholesaling in 13 different markets. I have a very large VA company so that I have a supply of labor ready to go. And then I also do consulting as well. And I have my license with EXP. So that's a lot. And recently I am brokering hard money loans for Tom Barry. And he and I are about to be working on a commercial division together. So that's a lot to be able to capture all the demand in the market. And so someone came to me yesterday and they said, Jennifer, I want to reach out to you about cold calling, because that's kind of how I made my name, was doing that. But I want to tell you guys that nobody should be cold calling right now. And what I mean by that are from an auto dialer. So auto dialers, they're only going to dial people once. And from that, guys, no one is answering their phone just from someone calling them once. And I can't tell you how many people come to me and say, hey, Jennifer, I really want you to do cold calling for me. And that is just not something that we should be investing our money in, guys, in my experience. It doesn't mean don't call them. I want you to call them, but I don't want your first point of outreach to be calling them. It can be text, PPC, mailers, bandit signs, TV, radio, you know, anything, basically anything other than cold calling. You want to have that point of contact somewhere else and then have a substantive dialogue with them. So what we personally do to change things is we text people now instead of just cold calling first like we used to. We get a lot more leads. So you may get 3 cold calling leads on an 8-hour shift, which is not a good ROI versus getting, you know, something like 50 leads. So Tom, you said I could share my screen. So let me share kind of what my system looks like. And thank you for sharing that, Brandon. Yes, everyone should know who Brandon is. His returns are really exciting, and I look forward to investing with him soon. So I'm going to share my screen real quick here. So with cold calling, guys, you would get maybe 3 leads, but this is what I'm getting. And I've shut things down just temporarily because I'm about to switch everything over to commercial. And I'll tell you why here in a little bit. Well, not everything. I'll still have a residential division, but me personally, I'll be working on commercial. So you can see, guys, I mean, this is a large amount of leads in general. So we have, you know, 50, 74, 57. These 2 days we were kind of running out of data and I was traveling, didn't have time to give my team new counties to pull. But whenever you're running at max capacity, I mean, you know, one of these should convert per day with follow-up. So, you know, that's going to be a nice amount of leads compared to like 3 from cold calling. So I want you guys, if you're doing cold calling, to shift away from that into some other thing that allows you to have that first point of contact with them first and then call them, right? So Tom also wants me to discuss data today. So I want to tell you that some lists that I'm seeing have success for people is we want to keep our list below 200,000 ARV, guys, because that is if you're wholesaling, right? So if you're wholesaling, the mom and pop buyers are quite scared. I'm noticing they're trying to negotiate us quite low. So the lower your ARV, the easier it's going to be to move these properties. So that's super important. Another thing that I'm seeing people really like, guys, that are getting success, and Glenn Stromberg could speak to this, and sounds like John Morey too. Of course, like we joked, he'd have to tie his down or get a parachute, you know, for but people are they're flipping mobile homes and they're doing quite well. They're buying mobile homes at on land at about 100 grand and, you know, putting in 30 and, you know, flipping it at 200, 210, getting 70K spread there. So if you live in an area that has mobile homes on land, that seems to be something that's doing quite well, because I know a lot of people say, you know, I've stopped flipping. I've stopped flipping because I can't make the numbers work. I can't make the carrying costs work. By the time I exit, I don't know where the market's going to be. But there's always a demand for affordable housing, guys, especially right now with inflation. So mobile homes are doing well. And I can tell you for my own list, I pull 100% equity, owned at least 10 years, and 2012 or older, so that we can add value to the property, right? We don't want people who, you know, just bought with really nice properties. I know William Tingle does. He's bought some lists from me and, you know, he likes those subject to properties, but, you know, I'm personally looking to wholesale those deals. And so I need to make sure that I can add value and that my buyers can add value as well.
So can you repeat that? So you're doing 100% equity?
Yes, sir. 100% equity, 2012 and older, and owned at least 10 years. And then I also add in every possible pre-qualifier that you can add in. And I will stop sharing my screen just a second while I make a search. so that I can show you what all of those pre-qualifiers are. Since you want me to kind of dig into that, Tom, let me show you all of the pre-qualifiers that I use on my own campaign. It's a pretty exhaustive list. And I do not stack them except for those first three variables, meaning I don't have the variables overlap. That way I can do as much volume as possible. All right, so I'm about to pull up the template. And then I will reshare. And if you guys have questions, if you guys are generating your own deals, if you're seeing things that work, if you're seeing things that are not working, let me know and we can go over that. So here's an exhaustive list of what I put into my own list above and beyond 100% equity and owned at least 10 years in 2012 or older. We have tired landlord, tax delinquent, tax liens, divorce, code violation, senior owners, pre-probate, probate, zombie. Don't ask me what that means, guys. I should know, but my team handles that. It's like a combination of a couple of things. Someone on here may know. I think it's like vacant land plus tax delinquent, something like that. Bad credit and vacant. So all of these are lists that we pull in addition to that original criteria. That way we can do as much volume as possible. Tom, do all those variables make sense? Does everyone see why these particular variables might pre-qualify someone to be motivated to sell?
Yeah, the key thing there is just trying to find motivation.
Absolutely. So you can stack them, meaning if you want to make sure that, you know, someone is both tax delinquent and a tired landlord and free and clear, you can stack all of those. It's going to reduce the amount of people on your list, but it's going to make sure that they're also more motivated.
And when you're buying lists, you don't want to buy junk.
No. So every state's different, Tom. I'll be totally transparent there. Every state is going to have different levels of quality because some states are non-disclosure and then other states, it's just harder to get information. But if we pull data in your state and it's no good, we will give you a refund because sometimes some states, some lists surprise us. But most of the time we can boast, 85 to 95% accuracy at 3 cents per record skipped, traced, and pulled. People are like, well, how can you do that? That's so cheap. Like, how are you able to do that? Well, the way we're able to do that is because we pull millions of records per month. We operate at large economies of scale. We just had a 1 million record order 2 days ago. So whenever you're pulling that many, you're able to get a lot of them for a great price. So some of you have probably heard of IDI. We use them as a data source, TLO, and several others. I mean, basically, it depends on the state, right? So every state's going to have different access to different things. Ironically, one state where we have a little bit of opacity is in Virginia, which is funny because, of course, speaking at Dealmaker, a lot of people want lists in Virginia. Virginia and Colorado are 2 states that have given us challenges. But other than that, guys, we have had excellent feedback on our lists. I think juniors used our lists. And I know, Tom, you've definitely used our list and you've seen consistent lead flow.
Yeah,
So,
for what I was saying is you want to filter these things out because you don't want to list with just every single person on it. You really want lists that have motivation in the list. So that's where I was going with that. That's why you have all these filters.
yes, that's correct, Tom. That's exactly right. Yeah, you don't just want to, start calling the phone book. That's not going to be helpful, right? So yes, you want to have those pre-qualifying variables there. And if you guys want to know, like I said, which lists are performing the best right now, it's going to be lists that are less than 200,000. If you're doing wholesaling and even buy and hold, I mean, you guys know this, your cash on cash return is going to be higher for those smaller properties that are more rentable, right? So, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. At the most 4 bedrooms, 3 baths. I mean, you guys all know this, right? I mean, these are the properties that are going to make you the most money per square foot. So you need to keep that in mind as well. Now, if you were a realtor who serviced the luxury market, then obviously you would pull a very different list. But these are the lists that I see that people make profit on consistently.
So who are you working with on a normal basis? Is it mostly wholesalers, or is it realtors? Is it fix and flippers, buy and hold guys, note people? Like who are you mostly pulling?
Everyone but note people. I did have one note guy reach out to me the other day, but he was honestly the first. Usually it's people who are looking to add to their own portfolio. It would be the highest amount, just because that's the highest amount of investors out there. Most people are not looking to wholesale. It is definitely a job and not an investment strategy, as you know, Tom. So most people are in this industry looking to invest, not get a new job. But of course, our wholesalers are going to do the highest volume. So in terms of volume, it's going to be wholesalers hands down. In terms of quantity and how many people come to me, that's going to be people who are looking to add to their own rental portfolios. And then some flippers as well. But most flippers, I notice, because that's its own job, they're kind of more happy to buy from wholesalers. Now, Tom, you are an exception. You kind of operate almost like some hedge funds I know, like REI Nation, where you are building out portfolios and then you sell the finished product to investors, which is really cool. Do I understand your business model correct?
That's one of my 9 business models. Yes.
Right. Yes, that's amazing. Tom here is an amazing serial entrepreneur. So
yeah, we do it every single different way. So we are buying from sheriff sales. We are buying off the MLS. Actually, the MLS has been amazing for the last 3 months for us.
That's great.
We are getting ridiculous. We're getting houses at 20-30% of ARV right now.
Amazing.
On the MLS. It's almost to me, like that's where the gold mine is, at least for us right now. We are, doing what we call FSBO, which is direct to seller, which is a lot of what you're going to talk about today. We've done tax sales in the past. Tax sales aren't really a thing for us today. But we also buy from wholesalers. We probably look at 10 wholesale deals a week from wholesalers. We think there's a bunch of different places. We buy from auction websites, all the different places that you can think of, and just referrals as well. We're buying a lot more from, kind of people just referring people to us as well.
That's awesome. Well, I love your market, Tom. After going there, like I did last week, if we didn't have a gentleman's agreement for me to not come out there, I'd be mighty tempted, because you have such a choice market. I can really see a lot of potential out there. Whenever you're talking about investing in Gary, I would really encourage anyone who listens to this call to get with Tom and speak with him about that, because there is a lot of room, I notice, for flipping and gentrification. And I just see your market, Tom, and I'm there and I'm like, gosh, this is an incredible market that Tom is in terms of that juxtaposition between growth and then let's just call it what it is. There was some poverty around too. Thankfully, not where you had us staying, but where my Uber driver had us to get back to O'Hare. His wife got a little scared. He's like, honey, can we please get through here? So whenever you have that intersection of, okay, the driver's wife is not comfortable being in this neighborhood, with the nice areas that we stayed, that seems like a great area to make some money. So yeah, please do reach out to Tom on ways to invest in Gary through his company.
We're making it happen.
Awesome. So does everyone know what they need or want to know about data? I don't want to just plow through, because I gave a presentation last week and it doesn't really give people the opportunity to ask questions. So I want people to take the time to ask me questions about anything that they may want to know about data specifically. Yeah.
So if anybody has a question, like, everybody's got different markets around the country. What data are you guys pulling? Really, for somebody here that's doing millions of data sets, pulling tons of data per week, she probably has a lot more insight on this than some of us do. So anybody have any other questions? Feel free. You can put it in the chat or just speak up.
Is anyone actually buying lists? I know everyone here is pretty established and maybe beyond that path of direct to seller activities. I think everyone here is at that high grade investor level, and I'm just out here still pounding the pavement, Tom, trying to get those deals. And I love it. Alicia Merriman said, Jen, why do you do this hard work? You don't have to do that. Why don't you just buy the deals from someone? Well, I love what I do, guys. I love doing direct to seller. I love the thrill of getting things under contract. So I will probably do it my whole life just because I love doing it. I'll still be investing, still be buying properties, still be putting money in Rockstar's fund, and your fund too, Tom, if you'll have me.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, well, it sounds like everyone's pretty satiated there on the data info. If you have any questions afterward, guys, please message me directly. And then I guess we can get into Junior's raising his hand. Hello, Junior. I've got a list coming to you today. It's actually waiting right in my inbox here.
I am very much looking forward to that.
Look, it's
Hey.
right here waiting for it. I just hadn't had a chance to send it to you yet. There it is.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, I did have one question for you though. Just I'm mobile today, so I want to make sure I understood something that you said earlier. When you were mentioning your criteria, did you say that that you do not pull anything built prior to 2012? Is that what you were saying?
Oh, well, if I misspoke, forgive me. I was up quite late. I think I'm fighting COVID yet again, guys. It keeps me up late. So anyhow, Junior, I suppose I did misspeak there. I meant 2012 and older, not newer. So anything 2012 and newer, I probably wouldn't be able to add enough equity to buy as deep as I need to buy in order to make what I need to make transactionally.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Okay.
So if I misspoke, forgive me, guys.
Maybe Junior
And
misheard.
I very well could have misheard. So yes,
I wrote down
very
2012
possible.
older,
Thank
so
you.
Okay, good. I'm glad that sleep deprivation isn't showing like I thought Junior was making me feel like it was showing. So.
Yeah.
So once you pull the list, then what's your next step here? Like, what do you do?
Yeah.
You go out and market? You did talk already about not cold calling. I'm glad that you mentioned that because I know about a year and a half, 2 years ago, cold calling was a really big deal. Everybody was doing cold calling. So what's the next step then in your process to convert these leads?
I'm glad you asked that, Tom. I want to share that a lot of people who are big wholesalers in this country all of a sudden are coming to me wanting to do text leads. So this is important. Actually, I did not speak to this last week because it hadn't happened yet, Tom. All of a sudden, people's inbound leads, their SEOs, their PPCs, their Facebook marketing has dried up because sellers are no longer taking the initiative to do that first reach out. So people who, I worked for before that wouldn't be caught dead coming to me for help just because of, ego, pride, etc. Now they're calling me, they're like, hey, Jen, I know you're getting a ton of leads. Can I please do your texting? Because all of a sudden all my PPCs, SEOs, and Facebook have all dried up. And you have no idea how humbling it is for these people to come to me after I had worked for them, right? Of course, when I work with you, you're always going to be like family to me. But like Connor Steinbrook explained, whenever you go for help for someone that used to work for you, it makes you feel like you're going backwards. So I know what a big deal it was for them to come to me and ask for help. So that being said, as much humility as that takes, it must be bad for PPC, TV, radio, all these more expensive things that normally people would consider superior methods are all of a sudden, Tom, just drying up like a well out of nowhere. And they're like, Jen, we don't know what to do.
I'm glad you said, that's part of the reason why we came to you, I don't know, 6 months ago, is because our PPC had completely gotten it was stupid. I can't pay $5,000 for a converted lead on PPC. And that's about what it was getting to the point of being. So
that happened for you a while back.
Oh yeah.
So text seems to kind of be the last of the Mohicans in terms of effective marketing that I know of, in terms of controlling the volume, because I'm big on control. That's one of my character flaws, but that's what I love about text, is that instead of waiting on things to come to me with more expensive marketing, now everyone says, well, Jen, text leads are so low on the motivation scale. Well, guys, you only have to ask one question to know if they're really motivated to sell. And at that point, you have as much motivation as a PPC, TV, or any other type of inbound lead. And people are like, well, how's that true, Jennifer? Well, you just have to ask one question. Have you been thinking about selling for a while, or kind of just since we texted you? And then you have if we send out, Tom, 100 texts. So for every 100 texts, we should be getting 1 lead. And that's what the company that I'm using called Wave Blast. That is not so much the case with other text platforms. So Wave Blast, Tom, which you're on, is relatively exclusive because we don't want to attract attention from the carriers. So the owner of the company will basically only sign you up if you come through me, because he's not looking to get more than 100. He wants high quality, high enterprise type clients, right? Which you are, Tom. So with other text companies, they'll kind of limit your sales copy. So we get a lot more leads for the amount of leads we send out because we're using this particular company. So that's a ton of leads for how many you're sending out, and the cost is so low. And the way you qualify them, like I said, compared to making sure you have people who are motivated, is you ask the question, have you been thinking about selling for a while, or kind of just since we texted you? And if the answer is, yeah, I've been thinking about selling for a while, and they give you some specific reason, well, then it's probably just as qualified as a PPC at that point. I mean, sure, they didn't take the initial outreach, but they're going to likely be closable. And that's what you're looking for.
That's good. I like that a lot.
And Manny does know to ask that question, by the way.
Good.
And if they say, well, we've just been thinking about selling since you texted, hopefully at best, that's going to be a retail lead that you can move over to Becky or your brokerage arm. Which, by the way, guys, if you are going to be doing this type of marketing, I really recommend that you do have a brokerage arm, because a large percentage of them, maybe 90 to 94%, are going to be people who want top dollar. It's going to be rare the type of person who needs, not wants, needs to sell their property at a discount that we're looking for as investors usually. Now, I know, Tom, you're selling turnkey, which is awesome. But for everyone who is looking to buy off market, you want to make sure and be able to purchase at that discount. And if you can't, you need to be able to monetize those leads. And
I'm glad you mentioned that, because for so many years, I mean, I bet you most of the old timers here still think that it's almost like it hurts you to be a realtor, like as an investor.
Right.
It was really taught hard by some of the old school people that said, well, if you're a realtor, then it hurts you. You can't get deals, or there's certain things you can't do. And yes, there is some certain things you can't do, maybe with HUD, or if you're EXP, I know you can't assign contracts. You have to double close, which means you need transactional funding to do that if you don't have the cash to be able to make it happen. So there are some hurdles, but I'll tell you, I think from the monetary standpoint and from how big you can build your empire, being a realtor, being a broker and being an investor has way more pros than it has cons. And I agree with what you just said. As far as when you're doing marketing and you're going out there and trying to get people to sell you their home, you'd be shocked at if you'll just offer them good options for themselves. If you'll offer them, like we offer them 3 options. So the first option is, hey, we can list your property as is. If this is what you want, we can get you, and this is how much we think we can get it, for. And then the second thing is, guess what? I own a construction management company. So we offer to them, hey, we can come in and we can rehab your house. And if we rehab your house, like all the flippers rehab houses, you're going to get top dollar. And if you do that, this is what the number that you'll get. But hey, it's going to cost you money and time to be able to get that to happen. And we even almost were like, and this may not even interest you, but like, if I'm going to buy it as a cash investor, I got to make money. And this might be that offer that I can offer you. And we kind of almost take it away from them. Like, you're not going to be interested in that. And that takeaway kind of like gets people more enticed into taking that offer than if you're only there. The only thing you have is a cash offer. You have no other options. I know a lot of people do this differently with maybe seller finance. They have other options, but and trying to get them, some people say, well, if it's your terms, it's my price. If it's my terms, it's your price, whatever it is. That's what we have found has worked the best for us, is offering like 3 good options for them. And we're trying to try to give you the most money we can possibly give for you, for your house. But this is what we do. This is how we help, people get the most money for their house.
That is very well said, Tom. And then also, just to share the conversation that I had with my legal team, since you bring up the things you can't do, just to keep me 100% on the up and up. You know, Jeff Watson and I had a conversation on how can I do this legally? How can I wholesale from coast to coast and have my license? Well, he said that as long as I'm not the one listing the property personally, then I would be legally compliant, because as a realtor, you know, you have to reach out and say, hey, you know, this is so-and-so with such and such realty. I'm a realtor, right? You have to identify that immediately. But if I'm never the one listing the property and I'm only getting the referral income from realtors all around the country, which by the way, you only need a license in one state to get that referral income. So let's say I was marketing in your market, Tom, which I don't, and I won't, even though I'm very tempted. And let's say I had retail leads come through. Well, then I just say, you know, I've got Becky and she's the best realtor I know. She has a brokerage over here. You know, is there any way I could interest you in a conversation with her so that we can make sure and get you top dollar on that property with the top realtor in the area? And they're like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, great. Well, I already know a realtor. Oh, I understand that. Everyone knows a realtor. And then you kind of go into the spiel about, you know, the realtor they know versus someone at the level of Becky, and kind of doing that qualitative comparison, which we can get into. But as long as you're not the one listing the property, guys, it should be 100% above board if you're doing this type of marketing. So I just do it for the referral income, and I don't have time to list a property anyways. So my listing percentage is 25%. I don't think I discussed this that much whenever I spoke at your event last week. So I want to kind of bring some slightly different content. So if you're getting 25% and you're getting one retail lead per day, and let's say 2 of those close per week, and the average GCI right now, gross commission income, is about 10,000 with the median home price, you do the math on what 2 of those per week closed looks like at 25%. It's about 20 grand a month. And, you know, guys, 20 grand a month, and all you had to do was have one conversation and introduce them to Becky or some broker, you know. And guys, I know people who are like, well, I don't want to get my license because, you know, then they just send me a 1099. Guys, it's illegal for realtors to share their commissions with you if you don't have a license. So don't put them in that position. I mean, yes, you can call it a marketing fee and you can get a 1099, but that's not scalable, guys, because the more they do that, the more they might incriminate themselves to really have some big penalties. So don't put them on the line. Don't put yourselves on the line. Just go ahead and get your license. That way, if you are doing direct marketing like this, you can monetize all that 90% of leads that are going to be retail. Don't leave that money sitting on the table. Does anyone have any questions about that, about, you know, how to stay legal and everything like that? Not that I'm a lawyer, right? But just in terms of what the conversations I've had with Jeff, if you want to know more about that, feel free to unmute and we can talk about that as well. All right, so no one has questions on that. So Tom, that's what I do, right? If PPC was cost effective, I would do that. If TV was cost effective, I would do that. I could do that. I have the budget for it if I wanted to, but I just get such a higher ROI on all of my text campaigns. So I stick with that. And as you know, David Richter, right? You guys know him. He said, find one marketing strategy that really works for you and stick with that. And so that's what I did. I mean, his Profit First book and his Profit First manifesto, I mean, it talks about that. And so that's what we did. We really dialed into that one. Doesn't mean we keep a blind eye to other marketing sources, but this is the one that's really paid off the most for us.
Good. All right.
Let me check here in the
So that is the
comment.
main form of marketing that you're using right now, is texting.
That's correct. Yeah. And Al Cook says you have a training that covers this. Yes, I absolutely do. Al, may I ask you, what part exactly were you looking to cover whenever you say covers this? Oh, the referral aspect. Oh yeah, well, there's not a whole lot to it. Al, do you want to unmute and ask me specifically what you're thinking there? He may not be able to. I see you trying, Al. By the way, it looks like you're on some 1990s TV screen that's flipping. Do you see that, Tom?
Yes.
It's a cool zoom filter. Well, Al, if you can't unmute to ask me about that, then you're welcome to reach out to me personally. and I can certainly tell you what I know, but so far as legal compliance, you will want to reach out to your attorney. I will say though, just between us friends, if you ask your broker, they're going to say no, probably. So I asked my attorney before I asked my broker, because I know my broker is just they don't know me. They don't know if I'm going to get them in trouble. They don't know if I'm going to be a liability, where my attorney knows me pretty well. And he knows that I'm going to operate above board. So I ask him first. And then if I get in trouble with my broker, then we can have that conversation. But I just try to not exist.
These calls are definitely not legal or accounting advice. But
that's right.
I can definitely speak, from what I've been told by my attorney. So what she's referring to, and what Jeff may have mentioned, is that if you are going to sell their property, then you do have to disclose that. It's more of a disclosure thing that you are a realtor. So that's what we do. We basically just say, hey, we're realtors. We have this. We're a licensed realtor. And honestly, coming at it from that aspect it has a little bit of pros and cons as well. And telling them right up front that I'm a realtor. First of all, the pros is like people look at realtors. The public looks at realtors in a little bit of a higher light because
Yes.
they have a license. They look at wholesalers in a lower light. And like they're just the scum of the earth trying to rip me off on my house is really what a lot of people look at wholesalers like. So that's the pros. The cons are there are some more compliance and some things that you want to take care of. But I haven't heard that you don't have to tell them that you're a realtor if you don't want to. So it sounds like Jennifer's not telling them that she is a realtor, but she's telling them that she has another realtor that can list their property. It's really like if you are a realtor and you've ever referred a property, it's a very easy referral agreement, and most brokerages have those in their zip forms or wherever you get your forms. It's a referral agreement. And, we used to do that for years and years before Becky actually wanted to list properties. Every one of our properties, we were referring out to somebody else just because Becky was like Jennifer. She didn't have the time to do it herself. She didn't want to do it on her own. And we did hundreds of deals that way where we were getting, a referral every single time. So
it also helps, Tom, that I'm not the ones directly on the phone anymore. I have a lot of people, thank God, to do that for me, but I do go through daily training with them because I still have the same habits, the same ear, whenever I do get on the phone, like let's say with consulting clients, my instincts are still there. The recorded calls I do have are either from the weeks where my acquisitions people are on vacation, or I have a consulting client who needs Johnny on the spot help, where I'll just make a quick call for them. So fortunately, whenever I do get on calls, I'm still just as sharp as always was, which I'm grateful for. I feel like I'm going to get rusty, but so far I have not. So if I'm not the one calling, that makes it a little bit easier too, is that someone's calling on behalf of my company with the intent to purchase.
right.
It's the intent that makes a difference, right? So we're intending to purchase, not to list, but we have the license just so we can get that referral income. So
right. So her situation is different than mine. We're okay listing. We're okay to buy, and we disclose all that right up front.
Makes perfect sense. Thank you for differentiating that, Tom, because it does make a difference.
Yes, 100%.
It really does. Okay.
So we started getting into negotiations already. It doesn't seem like you're doing much other marketing. So your marketing really is text.
It is, yes. And that is because it has the highest ROI. And yes, we're supposed to diversify, but I've been doing this for so long, guys. Kind of like if I'm choosing between different funds, and I know that one fund is going to always consistently pay me out higher than everyone else, and they're easy to deal with. I mean, I know that you shouldn't ever put all your money in one fund, but it becomes tempting because you're like, gosh, I get the most returns over here. I know what it's like with them. So yes, I mean, we just do marketing or with text.
Yep. Everybody's got to find their thing. So one of the best negotiators that I've heard has been Jennifer. So I really would love her to get into some, negotiation tactics and just like understanding how to negotiate. And, she said something at the free for all, which I totally agree with. This market is the hardest market to buy from sellers, because sellers, and it's funny because I experienced this. Me and Becky were out in an appointment, and this guy was like he just would not listen, and which is fine. And he literally was trying to tell us that his house was like, this market's a great market and people are getting astronomical amounts of money for their houses.
Gosh, yeah, all
And I'm
day.
like, and we had to, I mean, we were, even after we showed him the MLS and even after he just like was so sure of himself that, you know, it wasn't a good market. I mean, it was such a great market. And when you're in the market, you really understand how much it's changed over the last 6 months. If you're only in it, you know, once a week or once a month or, you know, whatever. But our company's selling about 10 to 15 houses a month. And we see every single time. And then my wife's brokerage is also, you know, has lots of listings going on. We can see what's happening. So I'd love for you to get into that negotiations. I know you had some slides on that. That's okay. If you don't want to show them, if you do want to show them, that's fine too. But I do think everybody should pay attention to Jennifer. She's got some great negotiations.
Yeah, so and I know that we're a little bit shorter on time, so let me switch to those slides that have the substantive dialogue. And those who saw it last week, this is going to be familiar, but it's really important in terms of having those conversations, because these are the things you're going to see over and over again, right? So let me scroll down to here, because I want people to get those kind of frequently asked questions, right? So, and again, guys, I know we saw this last week, but it's gold, so it's good to go through it again and again. I could read this every day and still remember, okay, this is what I need to say in that situation. So as we're going through negotiations, right, just for the sake of time, we'll get to these 3 slides, right? This is what you hear all day, and this is what we need to be able to say, especially the one whenever it comes to price, which you'll see. So if they say, you know, if I can't get this price, I'm not going to sell it. All right. If you're buying from sellers all day, you're going to hear this all day long. If I can't get this price, well, then I'm just not going to sell it, especially for the ones who are maybe slightly less motivated. Maybe some of the ones who are more motivated and they see this as their one chance at like the equivalent of winning the lotto. And so they need to feel like they can squeeze out every possible dollar that they can get. So we'd say, you know, I can appreciate that, Mr. Seller. I understand your frustration with the market. So see, guys, like we discussed last week, everyone loves this line because it really is. It's so helpful. It's not us. We're not the bad guys. It's the market, right? So we just automatically turn their attention to the market so that we can then start having that discussion about the market and not about me as the investor, not about them, but about the market. So you say, you know, I can appreciate that, Mr. Seller. I understand your frustration with the market, but you know, please let me ask you a question. What makes you believe that your house is worth $30,000 more than your neighbor that has a similar house down the street? And they'll say, well, you know, mine's in better condition. And then we'd say, well, if you were a buyer, which you will be after they sell their house, would you buy a house that was very similar and pay $30,000 more? Well, no. You want to sell your house, don't you? Well, yes. So what makes you think that I or any other buyer would pay a premium for this house? I'd be like, well, I'm not sure. Okay, well, you know, Bob, do you realize that I'm paying cash and I'll be paying all the closing costs as well? And remember, you don't have to pay any commissions to a realtor, so you're going to save thousands of dollars there. With that in mind, what's the best you can do on price? So those are the 2 key takeaways, guys. I know that this is a wordy slide, but this is a wordy occupation, right? But there's 2 main points I want you to take away there. I understand your frustration with the market. And with that in mind, what's the best you can do on price? Just keep asking that question. You can literally keep asking that question over and over and over again and get very different results every time you ask. And you say, okay, Mr. Seller, with that in mind, if I agree to 135K, when can we get this done? Or can we get this done today? Right? So just keep asking them, is this the best you can do on price? And you guys can screenshot this slide. You can email me or message me on Facebook. I will send you these slides and I'm happy to share that with you.
Thanks. That's a great question.
Yeah, I'm so glad. So this is the most important one. And again, people tell me, well, you know, Jen, they're telling me my price is too low. And like I said at the speech last week, if they're not telling you that your price is too low, I can promise you, you're not doing your job. You're not being a diligent investor. We have to, when you hear this is like a road sign on your way to grandma's house that lets you know that you are on the right path. If you do not hear this, you are not on the right road. Your price is too low. So don't be scared of that. I have acquisitions guys in my company, Tom, that are still scared to hear this after doing this for a year and a half. And it's a little bit frustrating to me. They're like, but my price is too low and I think we need to novate. Just because they say that the price is too low doesn't mean we always need to novate. Okay, you get a little frustrated as the company owner hearing the acquisitions people say, your price is too low, whenever I was the one in that seat for a long time. And hearing that would get me excited. And you say, okay, Bob, I can appreciate that. Just so I understand, the price is too low compared to what? Right. So then we're going to put them on the spot and we're going to make them think. Oh, well, Mr. Greenberg's house down the street. Oh, okay. That house. Well, first off, it hasn't sold and it's been on the market for 187 days. And that's another thing I use, guys. I don't look at the MLS beyond like what's on there right now. That's what I show them to bring sellers to reality. I don't look at what sold 2 months ago or even 1 month ago. I show them what's on the MLS right now and what's not moving. And if they look back, and all you have to do is point to the interest rates, guys. Most people don't live under a rock. Be like, well, as the interest rate has creeped up, we have to deal with reality on reality's terms, which is what's on the MLS today. And then you go on to explain the differences between the house. You say, also the house is 1876 square feet and your house is 1350. That's not a comparable sale by any means. And then you go into this explanation. Did you know a certified appraiser needs 3 sold comparable properties within 10% of the square footage that sold in the last 90 days in a 1 mile radius? Now, that's not always true in a rural county, right? But for city acquisitions, that's going to be the case. And they're like, well, no. And then you say, well, with that in mind, here are the comps that fit the appraiser's criteria. And as you can see, Mr. Seller, if you put your house on the market today, you'd get roughly $145,000 for the property. But remember, you have to pay realtor commissions, closing costs, and more than likely you'll spend some money on cleaning up the property. So if you get down to net cash in your pocket numbers, you'll see that my 135 price is actually a very fair offer. Wouldn't you agree? And they're like, well, yes. And then, but this is ideal, guys. Usually they still say no. They just get it so stuck in their head. They still say no. And you may have to go through this a couple of times. And then ideally they'd say yes. You go, great. Well, when would you like to close? On the 13th or the 15th? So taking them through this gentle path can kind of gently help them see the reality of the market. And that's really important.
Yeah. What I think is most interesting here is where we started from. And if you read the book, Never Split the Difference,
yes.
He talks about going for no, you're shooting for no. And when I heard you talk about this last week, I just thought it was hilarious, but it's also at the same time so true that if you're not being told that your price is too low, then you're not doing your job. You should be going for that. Like, this is the goal. The goal is for them to tell you that your price is too low. So you start with that. You start with no, and then you kind of work them off of that.
And even veteran acquisitions people, they get stuck there, they get scared there. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds here, guys. We could go on forever about how to keep team morale. But my boys, because they're all boys doing acquisitions right now, they get depressed whenever they hear this too much all day. And I'm like, guys, we can't be getting depressed over hearing this all day. We just have to say, so I understand the price is too low compared to what? And I'll be like, don't forget to ask that question. Compared to what? And then you'll see the sellers get stumped. Most of them do not have a good response to that. And that really kind of brings them to Jesus, so to speak. So don't let your teams get depressed over hearing this, guys. People are sensitive. Most people are not cut out for acquisitions. They just aren't. You have to be pretty tough. You got to be hungry. And if you don't like hearing that, then we need some training. I'm not saying you need to replace your staff, but they definitely need training, mine included. So here's this one, guys, if you want to go through this, or I know we have 5 minutes left, Tom, so maybe someone has some questions in terms of what to say. And this is always popular. Objection busters. right? So I would like to hear from people the objections that they hear over the phone. This is really where I earn my bread and butter, Tom. I do a lot of different things, but no one has ever stumped me with an objection, at least not in the last couple of years. I'm still waiting on someone to stump me with an objection that they've heard from a seller that I couldn't talk my way through. So I want to make an open invitation to anyone on the call. Any objections that you've been getting on the line that you haven't been able to overcome, I would love to take this opportunity to go through those with you now.
It does seem like a lot of the people that are on here, there's only a couple of people that are probably doing this themselves. A lot of these people are probably doing this with their teams.
Yes.
But if anybody is on, they want to unmute themselves or want to just throw the message in the chat, we can do that. Also, my gang that hangs out here on these calls are a lot of people are just kind of on the call to try to learn and not interact, so they're not used to a lot of the interaction. So I don't blame them for that.
Yeah.
But so I do try to keep it interactive a little bit. But I'm not even going to attempt this, Jennifer. So, because I've seen you do this before with other people trying to stump you here. So I'm not gonna tempt you because what Jennifer's really good at is kind of moving them into a different direction from where they try to go at. So, Jennifer is really good at this, and there's a lot of things on these slides that she's got here of different ways to negotiate. But I think kind of just bringing this thing home, I would probably speak to, the market that we're in right now as a buyer, unless you're wholesaling, and I don't know that there's any, maybe Junior might be the only wholesaler that I know of for sure that is on this list. That's actually listening to, right now. I know there would be other people that will listen later, but unless and even if you're a wholesaler, you need to first of all recognize that we are in a different market. And if we are in a downtrend market and it's going to continue to go down, as well as I do, when you sell your property, it's later than it is today. So, maybe putting that point out as the market goes down for 6 months and saying, if I'm going to sell in 6 months, what is my ARV going to be in 6 months? That's how we're looking at every single deal right now. And then on top of that, we are also not buying anything unless we're happy to rehab it and happy to hold it. Even the stuff that we are selling, and even the stuff we are buying to sell, we're not buying anything right now. And we haven't. We stopped in June. So June 1st, I sat down with my team and I said, we're switching gears. This is what we're doing. And that's what we decided to do. We changed everything that we're doing to, if we're not willing to rehab it, if we're not willing to hold it for years, for several years to come, we're not buying. And I think we ought to go into this market with that mindset that if we can't control the deal, if the deal doesn't work in our control and the things that we want to do, that we're just not going to do it. And it's interesting because ever since we've done that, we can't stop getting deals. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it's just a different confidence or or if it's just the market. Obviously the market has a lot to do with that as well. But, we are getting deals. Like, we have a max offer that we kind of come up with in our own formulas based on ARV, repairs, rent prices, a lot of different, factors that come into that. And we have set our numbers now where we won't buy for more than $10,000 less than what our normal max offer would have been. And we're even getting houses for $10,000, $20,000 less than those right now. So I'd be ecstatic to hold these deals long-term if that's how, what it end up being. So I think that mindset in the big picture kind of goes along with everything that you're saying here as well. But I appreciate you being on. Is there any other final last words that you want to kind of give the audience? Does anybody have any questions that they do want to ask at this time?
I know Brent wanted us to go through some common objections,
Perfect. Let's do it.
which, it's easier if someone wants to give them to me verbally. I'm going to put Junior on the spot. He's doing his own calls and his own acquisitions. So Junior, I know you've got to be hearing some objections that, you wish you weren't hearing, or, Junior does not come to me for acquisitions help. I helped him build a CRM once long ago, and then he scuttled off and he's been doing it by himself ever since. So, he's really amazing doing all those deals, and he just does them on his own. So Junior, if you're there, tell me some of the objections that you're getting every day, or some that you haven't been able to monetize yet, because I've also really been able to pride myself on monetizing every possible objection.
Sure. And honestly, I'm not getting a bunch of crazy objections, except for the ones that they're just not interested in selling when they say crazy, random, weird stuff. Really, and the slide you had earlier was very helpful. Really, my only objections that I really struggle with is price. People wanting more than the home is worth, or more than what I'm willing to comfortably give them. So yeah, I mean that's really the only thing. It really comes down to price on every single person that that does seem motivated. A lot of people that you can kind of tell that motivation's not there. But the people that do have motivation, it really and what I'm hearing has just come down to price every time.
That's a seller's number one fear, is leaving money on the table. So we have to address that in a few ways, as you probably already know, Junior. One is, whenever you're negotiating, you need to come up in price incrementally. And of course, I learned this from John Martinez, right? And as you go up, those increments get smaller and smaller. Some say make it an odd number, but psychologically signal to them that they have literally squeezed out every possible dollar. When I was a new acquisitionist, if someone gave me a price that was within my range, I would just say, great, you want 30,000, I can do 30,000. Perfect. Let's sign it. Let me send over the paperwork. And then what do you think would happen, guys? They would completely ghost me. I didn't understand what was going on. What? I gave them the price they wanted. Why are they ghosting me? I didn't understand that, unfortunately, psychologically, even though I don't feel like I require this, most people require a certain amount of gains to make them feel like they got everything that they could get. So even if they're in my range, I start below my range. Even if their price is right where I need to be, if I'm thinking 30 and they say 30, guess what, guys? I'm going to say 22. And they're going to go, well, I can't do 22. I'm going to go, well, and then you come up, and every time you come up, you exchange something in value. Well, if 30,000 is your best, I mean, I could maybe come up to 2350 if, you get rid of all the garbage in that main room, and you know what I'm saying? So just try to exchange value as you go up, because unfortunately, guys, you have to play the game of making them feel like they've squeezed out every penny. It just gets down to old school haggling. So, and I mentioned this in my speech last week, Tom, as a culture, we don't really haggle. We don't go to the grocery store and haggle price. We would be seen as an insane person. So we're not used to haggling, but in this case, you need to pretend like you're in a Middle Eastern bazaar and haggle your head off, because that's what sellers need in order to feel like they are getting every possible dollar.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
And then I agree with you, last word, that, like you mentioned last week, we are in the hardest part of the market, where my buyers are scared and my sellers are delusional to an extreme degree. And it will put a stop on your transactions if you're not careful. So I would say, guys, make sure you have buyers that share the goals, like Tom Berry, who understands that this is the time to build generational wealth to buy, because your regular mom and pop buyers are scared and the hedge fund buyers are scared. So you're going to have to network to find those buyers. If you're a wholesaler like I am, then make those relationships with people who understand that this is the time to buy. Relationships with people like Tom Olson, who understand this is the time to buy. Do not rely on your buyers list, and certainly do not rely on the hedge funds, guys, because I did, and me moving deals out the door stopped. And so I certainly had a humbling lesson of, okay, it's time for me to figure out who are my buyers. It's like musical chairs. The music stops and you're standing there holding the deals with nowhere to sit.
Mm-hmm.
So negotiate very deeply. And even if you're finding deals on the MLS, like Tom, use these same negotiation skills. Negotiate deep, whether you're buying on the MLS or whether you're buying off market. And if you're a wholesaler, definitely find out who the buyers are, because there are already so many fewer buyers, Tom. It is striking and almost disturbing how few buyers there are now compared to before. So anyways, all of you guys that are buying are definitely going to get more than Christmas cards from me. Because I need to know who the consistent buyers are through this market.
Yeah, there was a statement. I'm not sure where I heard it. It might have been on a podcast or it might have been at an event that I was at lately. But it said the old timers are going to do really good in this market. So old timers that have been through different markets, ups and downs, because they really focus on the fundamentals. They focus on, hey, is this a good deal or not? Is this cheap or is this expensive? They don't really focus on, can I get money from Wall Street? They don't, like the hedge funds do. They don't focus on, all the fluff and all of the headlines that are going on with Russia and everything else right now. And I'm fortunate because I'm in that situation where I'm probably poised to do better in this kind of type of market than I could have done in even an up market. So it excites me to get into the down markets. I've always done better in the down markets than I have in the good markets. And it's like you said, now I will tell you the biggest mistake I made back in 2008 was wholesaling so many houses. We wholesaled hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses. And I can't even I just wish I would have had the access to private capital that I have today to be able to hold those things. Those houses are probably worth 10 times the amount of money I was wholesaling these houses for. So I could have paid 30% interest to my hard money, to my lenders and still been pretty awesome. So there's a question. Any thoughts on how long this delusional period for sellers will last? I'll take that. It really just it's all about sensationalism. It's all about the headlines. Like when the headlines change, give it another 3 months and you'll start seeing actually the best time of the market is when the market's been bad for so long and they haven't figured it out. They haven't figured out that there is a hot market. I'll tell you, we bought like nobody's business when COVID hit, because we really did see the writing on the wall that we're printing so much money. Yeah. This is not gonna bode well in the short term. And we got super aggressive when COVID hit April, May of 2020. We are it was probably the first time in maybe 10 years where I had to actually reach out myself to some of my private lenders and say, hey, we got deals, because Heather couldn't keep up, getting them all funded for us, my lending coordinator. We did great for the last 2 years because we just knew that the market was inefficient and it was just a bunch of fear. It wasn't reality. And really in the big picture, I think as investors, we do need to know we still are underbuilt. We still have real affordability issues in the United States. There's still a need for housing. This isn't going away. It's not like people are just going to wake up in 6 months and realize they don't need a house anymore for the rest of their life. So we actually still have issues of being way underbuilt and not having enough actual inventory, supply and demand issues. So in the long term, these things will come back. But as far as the timing goes, it's not up to us. I can't tell you this tomorrow. I don't have a crystal ball, but the things to watch for are when the news starts saying that there's good things and the stock market starts going back up and different things. That's really when, and everybody hits at a different time because, as well as I do, everybody doesn't watch the news. Everybody doesn't, see it at different times. So just like my delusional seller was completely delusional, maybe by now, this was 2 or 3 months ago when I had that conversation. Maybe by now he's actually starting to see, oh crap, maybe I should have listened and actually sold with him because he hasn't sold his house yet. So that's what I would say. Jennifer, anything on that?
You said exactly what I was going to say, Tom. The only difference was I was going to say sometimes the media is your enemy and sometimes they're your best friend. Yeah. But other than that, I was going to say exactly the same thing, that once sellers get the 411 from the media, because they're not going to believe us, unfortunately. They see it as a conflict of interest. Yep. They want to hear it around the water cooler, for those who still go to work in person, that their buddies are saying the market is bad. And whenever I was at the gym and I heard a contractor saying he's not getting as many flips right now because we don't know where the market's going to be. I was like, well, when the contractors are talking about it, that's getting closer to your average person understanding that. So until you're hearing it on the radio, and I'm almost willing to pay for some ads on the radio.
Yeah.
Just to say things are crashing, just so it makes it easier for me and kind of clears the brush, so to speak.
I love it when the contractors are calling me looking for work, which we had 2 contractors in the last week call us. And
Really?
actually say, hey, do you have work? And we're like, yeah, we've got a lot of work right now. So let's make it happen. Jennifer, I'd be remiss. I don't want to leave without asking you if you can at least tell everybody what you do for people, and what people can purchase from you and then how to make that happen. I know we talked about data, VAs, consulting, but kind of go through what you can do for people. I definitely want to get that out. And then I want to give Peggy an opportunity to talk about the cruise, or if somebody's on, I'm not sure if Tom Nardone can jump on and let people know about the cruise real quick, and then we'll close up for the day.
Okay, perfect. Well, there's a lot, Tom. So first off, as already mentioned, I am an affiliate broker for hard money lending. Tom, if you wanted to make me an affiliate broker as well, I'm happy to do that. So, I know you guys already know all the same people, but if for some reason we come across each other and you want to have me do more of the heavy lifting for you, I'm happy to do that. And then also, guys, I do sell lists of data, skip, traced, and pulled 3 cents per record. I've never seen anyone be able to beat that. So especially with 85 to 95% accuracy, I am here to help you guys make as much money as possible with as little capital expenditure as possible. I have VAs, I have 150 of them. The most elite of the elite are only allowed to work with my consulting clients. My A team, they train with me personally daily at 1 p.m. every day. They are not the cheapest out there, but they have to have at least 3 years of experience. They have to be trained by my agency manager, and then they have to do daily training with me to listen to their calls to make sure that we're closing every closable deal. So if you want to not be in this business and have someone else working on your business and you be more, doing the more important things, then please know that I have the staff that can help you with that. And then I can also run the text messaging for you. I can run those campaigns for you. I've got labor to do that at $2 per hour, guys. Tom's he's been using them for a while, and he can tell you that they do get you consistent leads into your CRM. Whatever CRM you choose, you do not have to have our CRM that we use. You can use Allie Murphy and Finish Green. You can use REI Black Book, Salesforce. I personally use Podio just because I'm kind of stuck in my ways. I may eventually switch to Finish Green because I love Allie so much, but right now I'm still using Podio because it's hard to train your team all over again. Whatever CRM you're using, we can put those text leads in. It's 1 cent per text. And then whenever you do 3 cents per record, skip, traced, and pulled, it ends up being about 4 cents for every message you send. And like I said, for every 100 texts you send, you should be getting 1 qualified lead back. And with the consulting, guys, what I do with that is I make a lifetime guarantee, which is lofty, but I consider it a lifetime relationship whenever you become my consulting client, to make sure that you meet your acquisitions goals. So whether it's building out your portfolio, whether it's wholesaling, whether it's flipping, we work backwards in terms of how many acquisitions do you want to do per month. We look at what it takes in order to make that happen. We work backwards and we build out a system of KPIs, how many texts per day, how many hours of staff do you need? If you need contracts, I can refer you to my attorney. Basically anything that you need to meet your acquisitions goals, I'm happy to help with. And then lately, because of the market switching and seeing my own need, we're working on dispositions as well. So if you need a buyer in a certain market, I'll help you locate them. If you need us to build a website for your dispositions, we can do all of that for you as well. And I think that pretty well covers it. And that if you are a realtor in a certain area and you have a team, let's say you're a broker and you have a team, let us know if you need leads generated, and we'd be happy to do marketing in your area so that we can generate those leads for you and work on a referral basis. So there's a lot there, Tom. There's a lot there. And
so I have 2 questions. First of all, how do people get a hold of you if they're looking to either buy lists or work with you on your VAs or your consulting?
Yeah, so I have a website for each. So my website, and I'll put it here in the chat for data, is www.reidatasource.net. And then for the VAs, you can go to let's see, it's Phone Phoenix Agency. I've had it for 4 years, guys, so it's very well established. phonephoenixagency.com. And then for consulting, we can go to www.elitedealfinders.com. And then if you just want to find me on Facebook, you're welcome to do that as well. That's probably the easiest way. And then also here's my cell phone, guys. I can't always answer just because I'm often in meetings, but feel free to text me. I do answer my phone if I'm not in meetings. And then my email is going to be jennyD@powerfulpropertysolutions.com.
Awesome.
Thank you, Tom.
One of the most impressive things for me about Jen was that lifetime piece. So most consultants, they want to come out, and I mean, I've done consulting. My consulting's one day. Basically 1 day, 2 days. I'm charging you by the day. I'm one and done. Yes, I'm your friend. Yes, you can contact me, but I don't market that. I will respond to you. I'll probably answer any question for a lifetime. But her coming out and saying, hey, if anything that your business, any one of your businesses needs helps in the future, I'd love, and I can help you. Just know that I'm there for you. So we're actually working with her on several different things and different businesses in our company. I appreciate Jennifer
Thank
for
you,
being
Tom.
on today, and appreciate all that you do. So reidatasource.net, phoenixagency.com, and elitedealfinders.com. Make sure you hit up Jennifer and get with her on those needs. One question I have for you, Jennifer, before we go.
Yes, sir.
Do you have VAs that can take phone calls for property management to that are looking to rent houses?
Oh, they would love an easy job like that compared to having to negotiate and find motivated sellers.
Yes, I was wondering.
They would feel like old retired horses put out to pasture with
Well, I need a
jobs that
good one
easy,
though, because they
so.
got to speak good English, and they got to have a good, they have to have good Wi-Fi or whatever they need to be able to make those phone calls.
I
be able to
have
accept those phone
some
calls.
Americans, if you need that excellent native English, and then I have some Filipino folks who have lived in the US and almost sound American, and so please feel free to get with me on that.
Yeah, let's make sure we connect,
preference.
because right now that's one of the rocks for our next quarter for Olson Property, for our property management company, is to hire some help. We're getting about 100 calls a day, and one guy, it's a little bit too much for that one guy to keep up with. Plus he does evictions, and plus he does some other things.
We have any kind you might need in terms of accent and proficiency.
So he's awesome. So let's make sure we connect on that. Tom or Peggy, you guys want to hop on real quick about the cruise? One more last chance to tell everybody about this amazing cruise we're going to go on, Royal Caribbean. I'd love to have a lot of you guys be on there.
Peggy, you want to take it? Go ahead.
Sure, I will.
Okay.
So we have booked out about half our cabins so far. I have got a recent update from Janice, but they're going fast. We can get more, but maybe not at the guaranteed price. So for you that don't know, it's February 4th, and it's leaving out of Miami. It's going to St. Thomas and Private Island and St. Martin, I think.
Yes.
We have very, very exciting news for our speakers. We'll have our guys, like Tom Olson and Tom Nardone and me, and Wendy Sweet is signing up. And you want to tell them the big news, Tom?
I want to hear, yeah.
I
Tom
talked to Mitch
Nardone?
Stevens. Yes, I talked to Mitch Stevens yesterday, and he agreed to come on board.
Awesome.
And
I love Mitch.
Yeah, it's he's
So
got a lot.
He's
to talk
really
about.
excited about it.
Yes, very excited. Yeah.
And then, so if you're thinking about it, at least call and get your deposit made and get your spot held, because they are going. And like I said, I think that price guarantee is only for like another 2 weeks or so to hold that price. And Janice said that they can pull our cabins if they decide they want to. The cruise line. So it's important to get your reservation in if you're on the fence.
Well, I'll tell you, Peggy, so Becky wanted a certain room, like really close to like she wanted the inside cabins because this is one of those huge ships. And she wanted not an inside cabin. She wanted a balcony on the inside of, because this ship has got balconies on the inside of the room and the outside. So we always get a balcony on the outside, but Becky was like, I really want to be like where all the action's at, like on the inside and have that. So, and there was like 2 left on all 3 floors. So they are, and she and Janice was trying to get me one of them while we were on the phone, and somebody grabbed it right then. So they are going fast. I think the biggest news is that there's no vaccination required right now. There's still testing required, but there's no vaccination. I actually think, my crystal ball says they might even drop that by that time that it comes with the testing, but. The testing is no big deal. If you haven't gone through the testing, it's really not that big of a deal.
Yeah. And one of the cruise lines, Norwegian Cruise Line, has dropped all the testing, whether you're vaccinated or not. So I would expect to see all the other ones follow also.
Yeah. I'm excited. We used to do these cruises twice a year. So if you're new to this group, like this is something that I would highly recommend you guys go on. What's the information then? Is it investoraddicts.com?
It is, and the site should be up and running by about 5 o'clock today. We had some problems with GoDaddy yesterday, but they're trying to clear that up by 5 p.m. today. So the site should be live. One other note is if anyone has seen the prices, you get an interior cabin for like $8.99, which for a week cruise on the largest ship out there on the water, and to go to an event that's not going to be selling. Okay, there is a slight seminar fee to go in the seminars, but that's only if you're going to be in the seminars. If a spouse of yours is not going to be in the seminars, then they don't pay the fee. They just come along with you on the cruise. And it's not a pitching event. Now, Mitch wants to have me on his podcast in the near future, and I am going to mention the cruise on the podcast. That'll probably max it out right there. So if anybody's thinking about coming on board, no pun intended, get on board now. Reserve your room because it's a deal at the price we're offering it, and the rooms really are going to sell out pretty quickly.
It's definitely cheaper than living in a nursing home. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
You could literally live on a cruise ship cheaper than you can live in a nursing home.
Yeah, you can.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, thank everybody.
So
Thank you
we're
guys.
excited. We're gonna have some great speakers.
If anybody's on the call and they don't have Peggy or Tom's information, or if Investor Addicts is not working for some reason and you're looking to connect with Janice, just email, text me. I don't think I see anybody else's information on here, Tom's or Peggy's, but I can definitely connect you guys. I'd be more than happy to help. I'm excited to go again. It's been about 3 or 4 years since we've had the cruise. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have a good Saturday. Thanks, Jennifer. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
God bless everybody.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye now.